All right, the National Football League has been the recipient of widespread criticism in the last few years for a variety of issues involving the safety of its players and players protesting during the national anthem to protest racial injustice. Along with fans ditching their cable subscriptions, those stories have led to a steady decline in TV ratings. However, the league is still making money and remains an integral part of American culture. A recent article in Bloomberg Business Week explores the league's existential crisis and whether it's really a crisis at all. Eben Novy-Williams is a sports business reporter for Bloomberg News and the co-anchor of that story and joins us here today, right? The co-writer. Did it say co-anchor in there? Maybe I'm thinking TV. Co-author, right.
Co-author. When you talk about a head and two thumbs, is it still going to be able to watch football?
yeah, probably. You could change the channel, right? So the NFL's taking this major hit, right? Everyone acknowledges that ratings are down tremendously, but the league's still making a ton of money. How do those two work together?
Yeah, it's kind of why we call it this existential crisis.
Yeah.
When you're king, everybody wants to criticize the king, and the NFL is king, not just in sports, but in entertainment. The NFL is the premier entertainment property in the U.S. right now, and it's very easy to criticize. When Colin Kaepernick takes a knee, it gets criticism from both the left and the right side of its fans. Right. Concussions, another big one. You know, that is an issue that is concerning both the people that want to see the game cleaned up and also the people who love the violent aspects of the game. And all of that we're seeing play out in ratings.
Yeah,
and
but yet
that's
every
where
year,
the NFL makes all its money.
It costs more and more money for an ad during the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Like every year.
Yeah, networks pay more, including CBS,
right.
pay more and more each time that the rights are up to broadcast the games. And that's because it's reaching so many people. There are average 15 million people watch each NFL game. That's down from years past. But as you talk about digital trends, people moving towards away from their traditional cable boxes, we're speaking on a network that didn't exist 5 years ago, and that's because people are changing the way they watch television. And the NFL remains the king of the TV world.
So can the ratings dip that is affecting the NFL right now benefit other sports leagues or even other companies? Because it's, as we point out in the introduction, there has been some blowback to the Colin Kaepernick and the, what some people might term a controversy, but others call justice, where football players are taking a knee during the playing of the national anthem to protest racial injustice. I note that CNBC has a report out today that says Nike stock is at an all-time high and expected to go even higher, even though there were some who were sort of saying it was going to suffer because of their ads.
Yeah, sure. So in the immediacy, the only sports property that's really growing its TV audience right now is the NBA. And there's no question that as the NFL continues to suffer a little bit, the NBA is picking up some market share. That said, we're talking about two very different sized organizations, right? The NFL is a $15 billion industry. The NBA is an $8 or $9 billion league. So, you're talking still about a huge gap. The NBA certainly is going to pick up some of the people who may be turning away from the NFL, but the NBA would certainly love to have the NFL's viewership numbers.
So is there any evidence, like the president has asserted occasionally, that the protests during the national anthem have actually had any impact on the popularity or the viewership of the NFL?
No. The simple answer is no. I have a deja vu part of my job where in late summer every year, the Packers, the Green Bay Packers, declare their revenue. And every year I get on the call and the Packers president, Mark Murphy, goes, well, it's been a good year. Revenue is up for the 14th, 15th, 16th. I think this year was the 16th straight time. He said that there was no evidence. Other owners I've talked to haven't seen a direct tie quite yet. The problem with what Colin did and the way the NFL handled it is that you see groups on both sides that are angry. There was a graphic that was shared on Twitter last year with all the NFL sponsors saying, boycott these sponsors if you're angry about the kneeling situation. You had people on the right who were angry that players were kneeling at all, sharing that graphic. And you had people on the left who felt like the ownership and Roger Goodell were reacting poorly.
Right.
They were also sharing the graphic.
Right.
It's this strange bedfellows where you have people on both ends that are upset with the league, and that puts the league in a tough position.
But still watching football nonetheless.
Absolutely.
I don't know about the sponsors if they're getting the money, but they are watching football.
Yeah, and the advertising dollars, you saw the chart, the dollars are going, it's a straight line up.
But I'd be interested to know what the demographics are, because I suspect that not only are younger people not tuning in as much because of folks like Colin Kaepernick who are raising awareness of a very important issue, and also the safety issue when it comes to football players. I mean, I know that's one of the reasons that a lot of the people that I'm friends with who watch football our entire lives have said, you know what, I don't want to contribute to an organization that is potentially life-threatening for people who are in it.
You know what I think about that? Because, you know, we talked about in the beginning about, you know, football is Americana, right? And so I think about the parents with young boys who will not now think of football as an option, as a sport, an extracurricular activity because of that, and how much it sort of goes against how we feel about the way we treat each other as Americans.
Totally.
We don't watch them beat each other up on the field, you know?
And the ratings dip is nothing compared to the dip we've seen in youth participation in football.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the way that applies to the NFL is up for debate. I've talked to owners who are concerned that people are playing football less and less at the youth level. I've also talked to owners who think that youth participation is not necessary for you to love the NFL. Very few NFL fans played football when they were younger, and they still believe that they can get people who didn't play the game but necessarily want to watch it. As you said, there are certainly people out there who feel guilty just watching the sport as it is because they're gaining a better understanding of what this is doing to these young men who are taking the field.
Yeah.
That is something the NFL will have to deal with. And they're doing that. I mean, they're making the game, they're trying to make the game safer. You know, they're changing rules. Things that were not a penalty 2 or 3 years ago are a penalty now. And again, as we talk about strange bedfellows, there are people that are upset on that on both sides. You know, people want to see the game safer. Other people love the violence of the game. They love the NFL because people are running full speed and bashing their heads against each other.
Right.
And if that is not allowed, maybe the NFL, and this is the big question, this is the existential crisis, can the NFL be safe and also be compelling to watch? And I don't think we've answered that question yet.
Either way, they're still making money. Lots of people are still watching no matter what the president tweets
Without
out.
question.
Eben Novy-Williams, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.